Yo, in this video, we're going to be going over what you need to do whenever you reach level 60 in New World. So this is a question I get asked a whole lot on stream. If you want to come check out the stream, it's twitch.tv/BDLG. By the way, we're live every Tuesday through Friday at 8 o'clock a.m. CST. But I get asked all the time, what do I do once I reach level 60 in New World? There's a lot of new players coming to the game and a lot of returning players coming back to the game from a long hiatus from launch. And there's a lot of new systems in the game that are much different, so players find themselves lost and it can be a little bit confusing to try to figure out what to do. So first of all, before we jump into what it is you need to do once you reach level 60, there's a couple of different systems you need to understand. So there's the expertise system, and then you have your gear score that's separate. So your gear score is essentially your item level in New World. So your expertise is a permanent form of progression that is tied to your character. Think of this as what used to be your watermark for the players that played on launch. This is your watermark. It's just called expertise now. And as you can see over here in your inventory, you can see what your expertise is. So the maximum expertise you can obtain from enemies, chests, and gypsum cast and crafting is 600. And then to increase your expertise past 600, you have to upgrade the slot with what's called umbral shards. So this should be your first task, is trying to get your expertise from 500 to 600 once you reach level 60. So that is much different than what your actual gear score is. So you can see here, my gear score is 605 for this particular set of gear that I have on, but my expertise for every item slot is 600 or 625, excuse me. So I have 625 expertise for every slot, but my gear score is only 605. So your gear score is your overall power level derived from your equipped items. Your gear score comes from the items you have equipped. So just because you have 600 expertise or 625 expertise in my case does not mean that you are going to have that level of power with your gear score. You have to upgrade your gear. So you could have 600 expertise or 600 average expertise but still have gear on that is like 550 gear. And at the end of the day, your gear score is what really matters. Okay, your gear score is what really matters. This is what's going to allow you to participate in high end PvE content. This is what's going to be the bottleneck for getting into competitive PvP, is your gear score. But your expertise is so important because it determines your gear score to a degree. So for example, if your expertise is 510 for your great axe and you go purchase a gear score 580 great axe from the trading post, then your gear score for that item is going to be downscaled to the middle of 545. But if your expertise for that slot were 580 and you purchase a 580 great axe, then you will actually be able to receive the full power of the 580 great axe. So getting your expertise to 600 is incredibly important, but your gear score and your expertise are two different things. So I just wanted to make sure we clarified that before we moved on into the rest of the guide, because that is very important to understand. So now let's jump into what happens when you reach level 60. So now that you're level 60 in New World, the first thing you're going to want to focus on is increasing your expertise from 500 to 600, like we mentioned. So there's a few different ways to do this. And if you are a solo player or you can't find a group, you're having a hard time finding expedition groups or going on chest runs, etc., there are some ways to get your expertise up now, which are amazing. It's very, very good. You can get your expertise up pretty quickly by doing these things. So let's go over what you need to do as soon as you hit 60. So if you're solo, the most effective way to accomplish getting your expertise from 500 to 600 is by utilizing the gypsum system. So there's a few gypsum that are very easy to obtain, and they can be obtained every day within probably an hour to an hour and a half. And then those can be utilized to increase your expertise for whichever slot you choose. So it's recommended that you prioritize getting these 4 gypsum every day. You want to get your diamond gypsum, you want to get your topaz gypsum, you want to get your emerald gypsum, and you want to get your obsidian gypsum. So your diamond gypsum can be obtained by gathering any type of node in Eternum. So that's a very, very quick and easy gypsum to get every day. That's when you should get every single day. Your topaz gypsum can be obtained by just killing level 55 plus mobs, but you have to consume what's called a topaz potion before you can obtain the gypsum from those mobs. You can obtain 10 of those within a 2-hour period, and then you can turn those into 2 gypsum ores orbs, which can then be turned into casts, which we'll talk about here in just a minute. You also need to obtain your emerald gypsum every day. This is another easy one to obtain. However, you have to keep in mind that to get this one, you need level 200 in a trade skill. Doesn't matter which one. There are a couple of easy ones to do: logging and cooking. All right, cooking probably is the easiest, and then logging is next to that one in terms of ease of getting your emerald every day. So to get your emerald every day, you see these little nodes here. These are aptitude bonuses. After you hit level 200, you'll go around this circle here, you'll hit these little markers, and that gives you what's called an aptitude crate. Well, the first time you do that every day for any trade skill, you'll get your emerald. After you do that, you won't get an emerald again for hitting another marker. You can only get one emerald a day, but it doesn't matter what trade skill it is. You'll hit that, you'll get it. Logging is very easy because you can go chop down some ironwood trees every day and you can get your emerald that way. It's pretty quick, but the ironwood is often camped, especially on populated servers. So your cooking is kind of a go-to. It's very easy. You cook some hearty meals, you get your emerald, and you move on. It's a very cheap way to get your emerald every day. Very, very good. The last gypsum you need to be getting every day as a solo player is your obsidian gypsum. Now, there are more gypsum you can get than these. These are just the ones I would recommend prioritizing every day as a solo player, because these are going to be the easiest ones to get as a solo player. So your obsidian gypsum, you defeat level 60 plus open world named bosses that are typically found in elite landmarks. That's how you get your obsidian. You need to get 3 of those a day. So a great place to do this every day as a solo player is right over here in Ebonscale Reach. So one of the things you can do is you can come up here to Lover's Shrine. You TP up here to Lover's Shrine, and there is a route you can run. There is several ironwood trees that spawn here. There's a couple that spawn here. There's a couple that spawn down below the mountain here, and there's some that spawn across the road here. So by the time you chop a few of those down, if you're at level 200 logging, you'll get your emerald. So that one's done. You can knock that one out every day just by going to Lover's Shrine. And if you can't find those, then of course you can do your emerald by cooking, like we mentioned earlier. That's fairly easy to do as well, very quick. So once you go to Lover's Shrine, though, here's what you do from here. You run all the way up here to Sky Song Temple, and when you're at Sky Song Temple, you want to pop your topaz potion before you go in there. And along the way, do not forget, pick up some nodes, grab some herb. There's a lot of herbs all around here. There's some wire fiber that spawns in here. Just anything that you find, pick it up, because that'll get you your diamond gypsum. So by now you have an opportunity to get your emerald and your diamond, so you can have those 2 gypsum every day. Once you get up here to Sky Song Temple, pop your topaz potion. These are level 55 plus mobs all in this area. You're going to fight your way to the back here to about right here. There's a couple of bosses that spawn right here in Sky Song Lagoon at Sky Song Temple, and you'll want to kill them. So you'll fight your way in there. You'll get a few topaz as you fight your way in there, and then once you get to the end here, you'll kill this boss and you'll get a obsidian gypsum. So you have to get 3 of these to make a orb. So once you get there, you have the option now of either staying here and killing this boss and just camping this spot right here and running loops through here to get the rest of your topaz. So in between spawns, you could just run loops, kill the rest of them, and then just continue to farm this for your obsidian every day, and then you would be done. You would have your diamond, your topaz, your emerald, and your obsidian. Or you can jump across the water here. Just jump in the water. You can literally walk across there before you drown. You come over here. There's a chest you can pick up in this area here. There's a lot of elite chests here as well. We have an Ebonscale luck run guide on newworldfans.com. I'll make sure to link that in the description below if you're interested in that luck run. You could do that as well while you do this every day if you wanted to. But there's a chest here you can pick up, run up here, and then there's another boss that spawns in the church right here that you can kill to get your obsidian. So if you get tired of being here and you just want a change of scenery, you can come up here. This boss also drops some decent items, so you can come up here and farm this boss. There's also a route you can run to come down here to farm this boss that spawns right here for the major lost trophy mat if you want to do that as well. So just another option for you. You can come up here to get your obsidian, or you can stay down here and just farm this boss a few times to get it. So those are the things I would prioritize every single day. I would run that route. It is pretty quick. You can do it within an hour, sometimes even shorter, and you can get your 4 gypsum a day. So what is really nice about this, though, is that if you do this every day, this is going to net you with a total of 7 gypsum orbs. And one of the things I forgot to mention to get the other orbs is every single day your faction vendor here now sells 2 gypsum orbs. This is a very very easy one to get as well. So if you go to buy rewards, you can come down here to the faction vendor. There's 7,000 faction tokens a piece. That may seem like a lot, but if you don't have the faction tokens, just run your daily missions every day, and you can see a couple of these missions will get you almost enough to get there. 3 missions a day will get there. You can stack these very easy now by doing your 3 missions a day. So you really, getting faction tokens really isn't a problem anymore. You can stack them very quickly. Then just make sure you scroll all the way to the bottom and buy your gypsum orbs here. So after you buy those every day as well, if you have to run faction missions, it might take you a little bit longer, obviously, if you need tokens. But if you run those every day and you buy the faction vendor orbs every day, that'll get you 7 gypsum orbs. So you'll have 1 diamond orb, you'll have 1 orb from your emerald, you'll have 1 orb from your obsidian. You'll get 2 orbs from your topaz, because you can get 10 topaz and it only takes 5 topaz to turn into an orb. So you can get 2 orbs from your topaz every day. Then your faction vendor will give you 2 orbs. That gives you 7 orbs. So whenever you have your 7 orbs, you can then come over here to the gypsum kiln. And like I have diamonds here, you can just craft this into an orb. Your diamond gypsum goes into an orb. You continue to craft, and then you can turn that into, say you're trying to get your chest piece up. You can choose whatever item you want to bump up in expertise. You choose one of these, you click craft, you craft your cast, and then you open up this cast. And if you were 500 expertise, whenever you open this up, that is a guaranteed expertise bump, and you get an item from that. You see I got umbral shards here and an item. We'll talk about why I got umbral shards here in just a second. If you are lower than 600, you won't get the umbral shards, but you'll get a guaranteed expertise bump and an item, which is very nice. And you'll have 7 of those a day in about an hour. And so you can literally just come over here and use it on your chest, your earrings, your jewelry, your weapons, whatever you want to use it on. Now, what's important to note here is that you see how this is locked. So you can only do this once a day, and then it gets locked until the next day. So there's a 6-hour cooldown that'll reset whenever the cooldowns reset for the server at like 5 a.m. server time. But you can have an option to do additional casts down here. So there's a new system in the game called the perfect salvage system. So whenever you salvage an item, you get these things called fragments or scraps, and then those fragments or scraps can be turned into what's called an infused orb. So for example, if I wanted to make an infused armor orb, I could make one here, and then I could come down here and do my chest piece again. So I could do it twice a day. If you're really hard pressed to increase your expertise for a particular item, you can do it by your gypsum, and then you can get an infused orb via the perfect salvage system, and then you can craft another one. So you can get almost 20 expertise bump for one item a day just doing those things. So you can get a lot of expertise out of here, because they did increase the amount of expertise these gypsum casts give. So it's not a bad way to go. You probably won't get 20, but you're going to get a pretty nice chunk from doing 2 of these a day if you can do 2. If you can't do 2, just do 1 a day and you'll be good, and you'll eventually get there. And that is a fantastic way to increase your expertise as a solo player. Probably the best way still though, and I know a lot of people aren't going to like this answer, but this does kind of hold true. If you can manage to get into a chest run train each day, this is probably still the optimal way to increase expertise. But here's the great news. You don't ever have to do a chest run ever again if you don't want to. If you are trying to be super optimal, this is probably the best way though, is to get into these chest runs. They usually take a little over an hour to get knocked out, but if you can only do 1 thing a day, this is what I would shoot for, is trying to get into a run. So if you've never done one of these before, basically what you'll see is you'll just see people typing in chat, like put an X in chat if you want to go on the world tour, if you want to join the train or whatever they call it on your server. You can join that. They'll tell you where to go. You just literally port over there, and then you follow the crowd around. It's very easy. There's usually a ton of people doing these things. You just follow the train around and you loot chests and you kill some mobs. So whenever you do this every day, the reason this is so good still and so efficient is because you can pop your topaz potion and you can get your topaz on the run. You can also get your obsidian on the run, and if you haven't gotten your diamond on the run, you can just gather some things and grab that as you go as well. And then of course you want to do your emerald still every day, regardless of if you're doing a chest run or whatever you're doing. Get your emerald by doing cooking if that's what you need to do. But you can get your topaz, your obsidian, and your diamond while you're out on the chest run, and you get a lot of elite chests which give you random bumps as well. And along the way, you're going to loot a lot of these chests which are just going to give you a random bump for some random piece of gear. You don't know what it's going to be. It could be a blunderbuss out of one of the chests. It could be a great axe. It could be a chest piece. It could be boots. It could be whatever. It'll be a random bump, but you'll just gradually get all these random bumps from doing the chest runs, which is a great way. And then you'll get your gypsum on top of that you can use. It's very nice. Now, one of the things to point out, if you're a fresh 60, there's a few areas that you're going to want to have though, right? You're going to want to have a few shrines because you port around a lot doing this and you don't want to be behind the train. You want to make sure you stay with the train. So there's a couple you're going to want to have. You want to get this shrine right here, the Imperial Shrine from Ebonscale, in Southern Ebonscale. Make sure you come pick this one up. You can kind of go along the beach here and get there pretty easily. Just go pick that shrine up for sure. You want that one. Another one you want is the Mountain Rise Outpost Shrine. This one is for Scorched Mines and Murkguard. So usually you go here, people start at Mines and then go to Merc, and then you'll be good. You can also pick this one up, Old Murkguard Shrine. If you join the train late, you can come here and pick up at Merc. It's just a faster way to get there. So you want to grab that one as well. The other one you want to get is over here in Eden Grove. You want to get the Elysian Shrine because the chest runs go through Malevolence. So make sure you grab that one. Then you want the Cleaves Point Outpost, which is right over here because a lot of times people come through Mangled Heights. So you just grab this one here too. And then the last one you'll want to get is the Lazarus Shrine. So you make sure you grab the Lazarus Shrine because there's going to be chest runs coming through the Eternal Pool. And then of course that usually leads you down here to Fort Castle Drift. And the shrine, there's not really a shrine here. You usually just start at Reekwater and then run down here. But after you do that, you can always pick up this shrine at the end here. I can't pronounce that name, but pick up this shrine at the end here. So that if you want to come do like the Siren Queen later on, you can just have a fast travel point because this run ends kind of close to that shrine. So you want to make sure you grab all of those shrines and then do your chest run. If you can do a chest run every day, that is still a great way to increase your expertise and maybe the most efficient way to do it. But you do not have to do those ever again like you used to. There's a lot of other options. So another option that you could do every day, if you don't want to do a chest run, or if you get tired of running solo and you can find yourself a group, you can do expeditions. So the most optimal expedition to do really is going to be Barnacles and Black Powder to get your expertise up. This is because outside of the expedition, there is a side quest you can pick up that is a repeatable quest every time you do the expedition, and every single time it rewards you with a gypsum orb. So while you're inside of the expedition, not only can you pop your topaz and get your topaz gypsum, you can also get your sapphires by running the expedition, and you can get your random expertise bumps from the bosses and from the chests that you loot within the expedition. And then of course, every time you finish, you go turn in your quest and you get an additional orb, and you can just put that on repeat and do it over and over and over again. If you get tired of doing a Barnacles, of course you can do other expeditions like Genesis and like Lazarus. You do need a little bit higher gear score even to do Barnacles or these other ones, Genesis, Lazarus. You probably need to be at least in the 530 to 540 range, but I would not recommend doing Tempest Heart. You can get some orbs there too, but it is a long dungeon, takes a while to get through, and your gear score needs to be quite a lot higher to do Tempest. I think it's around 570, 580, and it's just really long. It's a lot more efficient to do Genesis, Lazarus, and especially do Barnacles. That is the expedition you'll want to do to get your expertise bumps. Let's talk about PvP for a little bit in Outpost Rush. I get this question a lot as well, and one of the things I would recommend is, like, if you want to PvP before gear score 600, that's totally fine. You can queue up for OPR, you can queue up for arenas as soon as you hit 60, but just know that whenever you do that, if you are sub 600 gear score, you may have a rough time in OPR and arenas. Right now, the game has no way to distinguish what your gear score is whenever you join those modes, and if you are sub 600, you're going to be at a heavy disadvantage. You're going to take a lot more damage, etc. So once you get to 600 expertise or 600 gear score, that's what really matters, is your gear score for a particular set. Once you get there, you then can at least start to compete in OPR. You're not min-maxed by any stretch, because you can at least start to compete without getting like 2-tapped in OPR or in arenas. But 600 is kind of the threshold there to make sure you can at least be semi-competitive. But nonetheless, if you enjoy PvP and you want to do those modes, you can still do them, and you can get 2 Garnet Gypsum from arenas each day, and then you can get 2 rubies from Outpost Rush each day. So Outpost Rush also rewards you with a crate that's going to give you a random expertise bump as well. But the Outpost Rush matches are pretty long. long, so it's not like a super efficient way to increase your expertise. But if all you want to do in the game is PvP, you do have that option. You can PvP to your heart's content, and you can increase your expertise that way if you so choose by doing arenas and OPR. It is possible. You can do it. It's just going to take you a lot longer. There are also some ways to gear up as a fresh 60 that I want to talk about here. This is one of the things you should do as well as a fresh 60, is to try to find some good gear. So there's several options. So it's unlikely that you're going to have like the necessary trophies and gear to craft like gear score 600 items right when you hit level 60. Getting all that stuff together is pretty expensive and kind of a grind, so you probably won't have all of that. But if you purchase gear from the trading post, it is going to be downscaled to an average of the gear score in your expertise level, like we talked about earlier in the video. So for example, if you're 500 expertise, you purchase a 600 gear score item, the effectiveness is going to be downscaled to like 550 gear score. But as your expertise increases, the power of that gear will increase as well, up to the gear score of the item. So once you get to 600 expertise, you can use that 600 gear score item and receive the full effectiveness of the item. There is a way around this though. There are several mobs you can go farm right out of the gate at level 60 that have 590 plus drops that are named items. Now, one thing to take note here is that if you get one of these drops that's 590, you will receive the full effectiveness of the gear score. So whenever you equip the 590 item, you will receive the 590 gear score for that item. However, it will not increase your expertise because it is a named item. So you're not going to immediately bump your expertise up to 590 or 600 or whatever, but you will have an item that has the effective gear score of a 590 gear score item. So some of those mobs include Taser Jaw, who's located in Eastern Everfall. He's a level 53 alligator. He drops a 590 Dex Amulet. He drops a 590 Greatsword. And these may not be fantastic items. The Greatsword's not really that great, but it is a 590 greatsword nonetheless, and then the Dex Amulet is not too terrible for a fresh 60. There's another one called Red Claw. He's a level 54 Angry Earth mob, and he's located in southeastern Ebonscale Reach. He drops a 590 Dex ring called the Rudiger's. It's Rudiger's Journey Band, and this ring also has luck associated with it, which is kind of nice if you're a fresh 60 trying to get a luck set. He drops a 590 Greatsword. It's not terrible. It has Enchanted, Leeching, Crosscut, and Life Stealing on it, which I think may end up being a decent great sword. It would especially be a good great sword at 590 plus for a fresh 60. He drops a 590 great axe called the Guillotine. It's not a fantastic axe by any stretch. Has Beast Bane, Mending Execute, and Mortal Lifesteal, but nonetheless it is a 590 item you can get as a fresh 60. You can also go farm the Surgeon. He's located in northwestern Reekwater. He's a level 60 ancient mob. He drops a 590 strength earring that has luck on it, and this mob also has an opportunity or a chance to drop a ancient mandible, which is used for your major ancient combat trophy, which is a rather valuable piece of item. It's very hard to get, so maybe at level 60 you'd be lucky enough to get that one as well, so he's worth farming out as a fresh 60. You can also go farm Zai Wang the Immovable and Da Shin the Unstoppable. They're both located in Lonely Climb and Shattered Mountain in the southern area of the zone. They're both level 63 ancient mobs. They drop a couple of 590 great swords. They drop a 590 hatchet, a 590 spear, and then a 590 life staff. So there are some options for you to go farm 590 plus gear as a fresh 60, but just know again, you won't get expertise bumps, but you will receive the benefit of the 590 gear score gear. And just a quick disclaimer, the greatsword is not in the game yet. It will be in the game in October of 2022. That's the expected date for Brimstone Sands. So if you're farming out these mobs prior to that point, you're obviously not going to get a greatsword. A couple of the other drops are also adjusted for Brimstone, some of the ones I listed there, but all of those mobs are worth farming out as a fresh 60 nonetheless. You can get good gear from them, and we do have a few more. They're listed over on newworldfans.com. I'll make sure to link that guide in the description below. There's quite a long list of mobs that you could go farm solo or in a small group or with just a friend, so make sure to link that guide in the description below as well. Now let's talk about what you do after 600 expertise. So after you've reached 600 expertise, the next thing you're going to want to do is to start shooting to get gear sets up to 625 for activities that you're interested in participating in. So for example, if you want to run expeditions, you're going to want to get expedition sets for each type of mob up to 625. So you'd want ward sets for like Angry Earth, a ward set for Corrupted, a ward set for Law, so on and so forth. This can be daunting and costs a lot of umbral shards to get multiple sets to 625, but it is kind of part of the fun and part of the progression to get these sets to 625. What I would recommend you do is you find a decent set of gear, a good set of gear that you can use for whatever activity you want to participate in, and you can run dungeons with it. Okay, this way you can push that decent set of gear up to gear score 625. So whether that be void bent and void, listen, you can push void bent up to 625 and be fine. You can push void bent up to 625, but you have to understand whenever you do that, void bent is a stepping stone armor, right? It is not best in slot by any stretch. It's not the best armor for any given situation, but it is a stepping stone armor, and it is possible to push your void bent up to 625 and do M10s in void bent. I have been there, I've done it. That's what I did. I pushed my void bent up to 625, then I used that gear as a stepping stone to get into other gear, and it can be done. I don't know if I'd recommend doing void bent this day and age. You could probably buy some cheaper and better armor off of the trading post to push up to 625, but the point is you don't want to have 10 different sets that you're trying to work on getting to 625 all at once. That's very ineffective, very inefficient, because once you get a set to 625, you then get 400 umbrals a pop out of the gypsum cast every time you open one up. So whenever you get your chest piece to 625, now whenever you get your gypsum and you do your daily gypsum, etc., you don't get expertise bumps anymore, but you now get 400 umbral shards out of every one of those, which is pretty significant and can definitely add up over time. So you don't really even have to go into expeditions to get umbral shards. Expeditions is by far the best way, and it's one of the fun in-game activities that you can do to push to M10s. But to do M10s, you have to have 625 gear score gear. So to get there though, you can just get one gear set to 625 and then just get umbrals out of the cast. Not the most effective way. Dungeons is the most effective way to get umbrals, but it is an option to do nonetheless. That's what I would recommend doing. Get one gear set, focus on one gear set, get it to 625, and then start branching out to get all of your best items. So that's what you do after 600 expertise. But prior to that, from 500 to 600, your main grind is just to get to 600 expertise. That's really what you want to focus on whenever you hit level 60, is just to get to 600 expertise. And of course, you can focus on crafting, etc. as well. Your refining skills are very important to get to 200 as well, because you want to be able to craft your dailies every day. But in terms of just sheer character progression, going from 500 to 600 is where you want to be, and the way to do that is through solo gypsum, is through chest runs, is through expeditions. Those are kind of the three big ways that you're going to progress your character from 500 to 600 expertise. So that about does it for this video. I hope you guys got something out of it. I hope it answered some of your questions. Hopefully it answered what you do after 60, what you need to be working on, what you need to focus on. And that's it. You just need to focus on getting your expertise from 500 to 600 by using these methods. If there's something else you have questions about, something else you want to know, whether it be crafting, PvP, whatever the question is, you can drop it in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer those questions. And of course, you can always come hang out with us on twitch.tv/BDLG. We stream every Tuesday through Friday, 8 o'clock a.m. CST. We have a great time, talk a lot about New World, and just hang out and chat about life in general. But that'll do it for this one. I'll catch you guys in the next one.